Well, let's talk now to Yvonne Harrison, who's the CEO of Women in Football. Good to have you with us, Yvonne. This World Cup, probably the most hotly anticipated Women's World Cup ever. Are we, though, nearing the point at which it's on a par with the men's game in terms of popularity and public attention?
It is hotly anticipated, and we've seen it kick off today, which is brilliant, and actually wins for both New Zealand and Australia, which is amazing for them hosting the World Cup. Is it on a par? No. But then when you look at the infrastructure and you look at the investment and the strategic kind of planning around women's football, women's football has been held back, particularly in England, not through any fault of its own. It was banned for 50 years here. So I think, given that the professional league, the Barclays Women's Super League here, only became professional back in 2017, the progress has been rapid. And it's really exciting, and obviously building on the back of the Women's Euros last year, it's phenomenal. So we're seeing there is an audience for it. The talent pool is really high. The standard of football is really great. But I think it can be quite dangerous to compare women's football and men's football in terms of metrics, and maybe actually it's about taking a fresh look and thinking, what should we measure the women's game by? Because it's got a long way to catch up, and your reporter just talked about salary differences and things like that. Women's football offers a different experience, a different fan experience, a different brand experience indeed, and maybe we should be looking at different measures, but of course ensuring that players are fairly rewarded for their engagement and successes.
Well, let's talk about the money side of things then. Can this buzz that we're seeing around this event translate to more money going into the game, not only wages, but sponsorship deals and wider funding?
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that on the back of the Women's Euros. If we think about that from an England perspective, season ticket sales for the professional leagues went up, significantly. You actually had a number of brands kind of coming to the table, actually recognising that the women's game does offer something different. I think 1 in 3 fans of women's football are brand new to football. They're not just translating over from the men's game. And that's a real market opportunity for brands. So I think from a sponsorship point of view, we're seeing revenues increase. The important thing is those brands stay. So I think from a world-class event point of view, this is set to be the greatest standalone women's sporting event of all time, and it puts a spotlight on the amazing skill and talented players. It puts a spotlight on the countries that are investing really well, and it's a real opportunity to showcase the game in an unbelievable way, which then will in turn give more bargaining power to players in terms of salaries, and more pressure on national federations to invest in the women's game, because it's going to grow and they have the power to accelerate that.
Yvonne, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. That's Yvonne Harrison, CEO of Women in Football.